Welcome to ROG Pulse, your inside look at what's happening behind the scenes here at the Republic of Gamers. Today is all about the ROG Astral 50 series graphics cards, our new highest tier of graphics cards that are finally here. Whitson's just held up the shell of a 5090, and I actually have a new 5080 to show off here today, as well as that 5090 that we're going to tear down.
Yeah, well, it's already torn down. We're going to show you the pieces of it. Should we? Let's start off by showing off Jake's fancy new builds. Not just a new graphics card. You did a whole new build, didn't you?
Yeah, so I actually kept my my case and my fans and my AIO, and then everything else is new. So let's just kind of jump in. If you're getting a brand new graphics card, you got to treat it right? You got to give it a new home to live
I'm
in.
actually doing the same. That's why there's such a mess behind me, because I'm rebuilding that PC from scratch too. We're going to do it live on this channel soon, so subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Once my graphics card comes in, that's going to be a cool build.
I didn't want to wait to do it live, but we did it here. So I use an ROG Crosshair X870E Hero motherboard. This motherboard is absolutely gorgeous. You're going to see it all spinned up live in a second with an AMD Ryzen 7 9800 X3D. This chip is they're out of stock. They're super hard to get, very high in demand.
Yeah.
Check this out. Okay, so this is just me removing that strip and where the thermal paste is. Yep, to put an M.2 in. So the M.2, ours are super easy to install. You clip it in, and then that top piece, just clip it on top. No screws involved in that.
No screws.
This bottom shroud, where you can fit 4 more M.2 drives, there are 4 screws you need to loosen, but they won't come flying out. You won't lose them. They stay in that top piece. And then there's actually just a line on the top to line it up and put it back in. ROG Rio 3 360 ARGB AIO. Then I got my memory installed. Bam, bam, bam. We are speed running this build right now. And then
this is actually how long it took Jake to build it.
Just ROG Thor 1200 watt Platinum 3. I wish. A god tier power supply with these little displays on the side that you can put on either or. You can check out all those panels. You actually saw that little purple connector. Bam, snap the display in.
And the reason that we've done that, we've always had those OLED displays on the Thor, but this way, if you mount your power supply fan side down or fan side up, no matter which way you do it, you can put that display on the side that you actually see. And it shows you your wattage as you're operating the machine. A couple other,
there she is.
Oh, it looks so good. Oh, that's a live shot.
That's a live shot.
I did not realize that was a live shot.
Fancy shot.
Fancy, man. Dude, that looks, the ROG text on the motherboard looks so sick.
It does. The motherboard looks great.
Cool.
I like the way that, so this is a custom Aura Sync profile that I made in Armory Crate. You can create your own profiles. There's a bunch of default ones, but I made this one myself. And I love the way that it chooses to cycle between the colors, basically taking the blue, the pink, the purple, the different, colors in that gradient and rotating the foreground and the background. It looks really nice. The Rio 3, that's a enemy matrix display on the AIO. That's something that we have on a lot of our laptops, in one of our keyboards, headsets, a bunch of different products. But the AIO, really I actually think it looks so good, right? We've got this nice coloring, a little bit of blue on that animation, showing you where your CPU is clocked at. You can display the thermals, whatever you want to display. You can have GPU thermals on it, CPU thermals, whatever you want to do. You can have it cycle between those various things. I like to keep it simple. For a long time, I actually just kept it at an RG logo, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to mix it up and do something.
I do like
different.
the RG logo. Can you put custom text on there too? Have it just say Jake is a cool dude.
I've never tried.
A lot of our Anime Vision stuff does let you do that, but yeah. Dude, that's awesome. So break out the phone, show us the close-up shots. I do want to talk a little bit about that Thor 3 power supply before we dive into the graphics card stuff, because these are our newest power supplies. They should be on shelf soon. What makes these such a great pairing for these new graphics cards? There are a couple things. First of all, the new Thor 3s are using using the latest ATX 3.1 standard, supporting all of the latest stuff. Someone was asking earlier about the 12 volt 2x6 cables. It's got all of that stuff bundled in with it. It also uses what is called our GPU first intelligent voltage stabilizer. And if you look at pictures of it, you'll see this little purple socket on the back of the power supply. That's actually part of the graphics card cable that comes with it. That connects to your GPU and can sense its voltage needs directly to help smooth out some of those spikes and dips as the GPU is requesting power. That's particularly good when you're like overclocking, which is something actually worth doing on the 5080. My
Yeah.
understanding is that it actually has some good headroom for overclocking. So if that's something you want to do, like that power supply is going to be a really good match. And then, of course, it's got that detachable OLED screen, the premium power delivery, 10-year warranty, all of that good stuff. So those should be on shelf soon. Now, obviously, the centerpiece of this build is that new Astral 5080 that Jake has. Um, my graphics card has not arrived yet. I'm getting the LC 5090 theoretically soon. We're going to put it in this machine behind me, build it into a mini PC inside an entertainment center. But in the meantime, they have sent me something pretty cool in the mail. Um, they sent me the shroud and heatsink of the Astral 5090, all kind of taken apart. So we can kind of show what makes the Astral cards unique and kind of like literally dig into it, right? So I'm actually going to turn this over first. We're going to look at the front side and then kind of go layer by layer. So this, as you can probably hear just from me knocking it around, this is a die-cast frame, shroud, and backplate. It is super sturdy, feels really, really premium. As we kind of mentioned when we first showed it off, it's kind of got that, it's got a matrixy look about it, kind of similar to last year's 4090 Matrix. It pairs perfectly with that Hero motherboard that Jake was showing off.
It does.
It really, really does. As you also saw in Jake's build, it's got a little bit of that that AuraSync lighting right here that you can, as you like Jake did, synced up with all his fans and his RAM and all that stuff. So you can kind of the animation will like flow through your PC, you can kind of match up all the colors and stuff like that. 3 fans on the front, like you see on most of our graphics cards these days. However, if you turn it over, like I did before, I already showed you guys a peek of this. We've got a 4th fan on the back. So I saw some people asking about this already in chat. So let's talk a little bit about why we did this. If I take this off, you guys can actually see. Actually, you know what? I'll show you this side of the heatsink. So we're going to try and get this focus. If you look closely, you can actually see that the heatsink fins on this side are actually a little bit more densely packed than the ones next to them. That is what that 4th fan allows us to do. We can get more surface area on that heatsink because that 4th fan can get more static pressure right through the heatsink and lead to better cooling performance than if we didn't have it. Now, I know that there has been some talk about noise levels and people being concerned about the noise of having a whole extra 4th fan on there. Now, let's talk about that, because right here, if you look real closely, I'm going to see if this will focus. Right here, it says P mode and Q mode. On the actual card, there will be a little switch there. That is our dual BIOS switch. Our cards come with 2 separate BIOS chips, and you can flip between them with that switch. That's nice for a few reasons. One is if one of your BIOS starts having problems or whatever, you can flip over to the other one. You kind of have a backup, which is nice. The other nice thing, though, is that we've tuned each of those BIOS like performance profiles and fan curves a little differently. So the P mode, P stands for performance, and that's going to be the one that's maxed out for the highest performance that you can get here, barring overclocking. Q mode, Q stands for quiet. The idea being that if you prefer a slightly quieter fan profile and are willing to give up like just a tiny bit of performance to get there, you can flip it into Q mode. It has a different fan curve. Clock speeds may just be a tad lower. And that's the mode that I usually use. Now, there's always a push and a pull between finding the right balance between temperatures and noise levels, because some people really care about noise levels. Some people are like, oh, but I don't want the temperatures to be too high. And so, even with 2 BIOS modes, we have to kind of find that balance. We did release a BIOS update just yesterday, at the time of this recording, for the Astral cards that lower the noise levels further in Q mode than they were at launch, because we got some feedback that people wanted things quieter. Mm-hmm. So Jake, I think you have this up. You can head to the product page for your card, the 5080 or 5090, and if you click that support tab in the upper right-hand corner, And then you click, there should be one that says driver and tools. And then I think you click the BIOS and firmware tab there. So a couple clicks to get there. You can download that BIOS updater onto your PC. That'll update that Q mode for lower noise levels. So,
Even tells you what was updated in the BIOS. How nice is that?
there you go. Yes. Release notes, always nice. So now, like I said, everyone's tastes are different. Some people, myself included, are very particular about how quiet the card is. Like I really, really want it to be quiet. And for people that are that particular, I do still recommend creating your own fan curves. This is what I do with basically all of my graphics cards, whether in Q mode or not. I still will tweak them myself because everyone's setup is a little bit different. Your case might let a little bit more or less noise through, how far away it is from your head, all of those kinds of things. So I would definitely recommend downloading our GPU tweak software. I put a link in the description of this video. Because that gives you just so much more control over the fan curves and whether you want to tweak the power limit, which is also something I like to do on a lot of these new high performance cards to make them a little bit more efficient. So we've got a guide for that. And if you are very particular about the fan curves, I definitely recommend checking that out. Now, speaking of which, a few other hardware features that tie into GPU tweak here as well. Over here by that BIOS switch and by the power connector, you will also find our Fan Connect 2 headers. This is something that's only available on our Astral and Strix cards. Jake, can you show us your PC again real quick? Because I actually think that yours is maybe a interesting example of this. So my case is kind of similar to Jake's in that I have some fans that are mounted on the bottom of my case. You might need to zoom out a little bit. What's interesting is that those bottom fans, if I spin them up faster, they don't affect CPU temperatures a ton, but because they're pointed right at the graphics card, spinning up those fans along the bottom of the case can actually make my graphics card cooler. But typically, when you plug your fans into your motherboard, they can only react to your CPU's temperature, not your GPU's temperature. That is what these Fan Connect 2 headers are designed to address. So Jake could plug 2 of those case fans into the headers on his GPU and then use GPU tweak to customize the speed of those case fans based on his GPU temperature. This is something that not a lot of graphics cards offer, and especially for cases like this where you have some of those fans blowing right at your GPU, it's a pretty useful feature.
It's pretty
So I recommend checking that out if
Yeah.
you have an Astral or a Strix graphics card.
One thing I like about just those fan headers is they're super hard to see if you don't want to use them because currently I'm not putting them into use myself. But they just have little black caps on them. Don't even know they're there. Not like there's extra exposed things. I like the clean black look on the front of the card there. One other quick question in chat I wanted to address. We do have plans to create white versions of graphics cards. We don't necessarily know which ones, but we do have plans for that.
Yes. White cards are officially coming. We're starting with the non-white cards, especially kind of while stock is low and stuff like that. But the white ones will come. CPPC Tech asks in chat, is it a push-pull configuration for the fans? Yeah, it's all blowing in one direction through that heatsink. Okay. So going back to the card itself, you will also see here, this is where the power connector goes. There's no PCB with this card. This is just the thermal module, so there's no actual connector there. But because we're talking about GPU tweak, I also wanted to mention this. People have been asking about it. That's that 16-pin connector. That supports our new Power Detector Plus feature in GPU tweak. This was originally available on just our 4090 Matrix last year, but we brought it to the Astral cards this year. It's pretty handy because if you go into GPU tweak, Jake, you will see up in that kind of upper right-hand corner, those green dots, you can hover over that and see the current flowing to each of the power pins on your GPU. If any of those pins are receiving current that is over spec, the spec I think is like 9 point something amps, right? If it's over spec, it'll turn red in this graphic in GPU tweak to let you know that the power is not being loaded optimally across those pins. The graphics card also has a light on it that will flash. I saw someone asking about that. Do I have to always have the software open? No, it's handy to have the software open, but your graphics light should also flash at you if something's wrong, and then you can address that connection. So With all that out of the way, let's take a look at the thermal module inside this bad boy. So we've got our heatsink here, which I showed you that has the denser fins over here next to that fourth fan. On this side, we have our plate here. This is the cooling plate with our max contact. It's got an ultra smooth surface, giving as much surface area as possible to contact those heat producing components on the card. And then on top of that, we have a phase change GPU thermal pad. That's new. Instead of using thermal paste or liquid metal this year, we are using one of those kind of solid thermal pads that sits between the plate and the GPU die. And then it kind of melts and turns into thermal material like as it heats up.
Super cool.
That's really nice because I mean, first of all, yeah, it feels like very futuristic.
It does.
But it's nice because it lasts a long time. Like that's really good for longevity, and that's something that we wanted to consider with these cards. So you shouldn't have to repaste it as often, things like that. And that helps transfer heat to our vapor chamber, which I believe Jake has a GIF of. This is similar to the vapor chamber we used last year. While most vapor chambers just have heat pipes that go straight on top of the chamber itself, we actually milled out some pathways so that the heat pipes can kind of sink into the vapor chamber and make more contact with the surface area of the vapor chamber to work more efficiently and draw more heat out of it. That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
So that's what you'll see here as well. And if I take this out, you can see all those heat pipes going through the heat sink here. Got a lot of nice heat pipes. So yeah, that's the thermal module of this, and then there are the fans on the bottom, which again, push-pull configuration for that fourth fan because someone was asking about that. Now I don't have the actual PCB here for this demo. They just wanted to send me the thermal module to show off. As we've mentioned before, our announcement for the GPUs that contains all of our premium power delivery, our protective PCB coating, and then of course the GPU die itself, which gives you that sweet gaming performance. Speaking of gaming performance, now that Jake has that Astral RTX 5080, you guys can see these cards in action every Tuesday and Friday here on the ROG Twitch and YouTube channels. There are so many games coming out.
Too many.
You're streaming Kingdom Come Delivered's 2 tomorrow, right?
Correct. Yep.
Avowed comes out next week. We'll probably stream that.
Yep.
We've got Monster Hunter coming up. Like, there is so much. If you guys want to see how these cards perform, follow us, subscribe. You guys will see all of that. We've got lots more GPU content coming as well. By the way, also, speaking of, this is not the full show. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, we cut down the video to just include our main topic so you aren't scrubbing through an hour-long stream. But if you watch live, there is so much more, including giveaways. Not GPU giveaways at the moment, but we give away games and stuff. So if you want to see that, tune in live on Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific to see the full stream. You can check out our Discord to connect with the community, stay up to date on the latest news and announcements, and we will see you guys there.